The number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business.
I'ma do whatever it takes, getting it done, any means, get rid of these snakes. Now I'm up in my stakes, going all in like get rid of these breaks. Now I ain't never gonna break, double my pace till I go down one of the greats. One of the greats, whatever it takes, whatever it takes.
Can't believe I'm doing this.
Having fun, so that's all.
We like the life. All right, everybody. Welcome back in to another episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. This is episode 193. Getting close to 200 eppies.
I know. I was just thinking about that this morning. What should we do for 200, bro? What do you think?
I mean, we could streak
That's a
across
big
the camera.
Yeah, I regret asking already. I was thinking like a monster stream. Like a 4-hour our longest pod we've ever done. Something just big. Big. I mean, 200's a big milestone. I mean, there's probably, if you were to statistically poll how many pods make it to 200, it's got to be like less than 5%, less than 3%, yeah. I would guess. Yeah.
That is exactly the number that I had in my head. Was like I was probably thinking in my head, just guessing 95% probably.
At
reach 200 episodes.
I'm going to ask Chetty G at some point, and I'll get you guys the real stat, but it's got to be just the minuscule total pods that make it that far.
Yeah, no, I love it. We'll definitely do something very, very grandiose, and I love that idea. You know, if I can just take half a work day off to create content and not work, that's the dream.
That is the
dream. We got a lot to cover on today's episode, everybody.
We do.
You know, I'll start off by just talking a little bit about my son, baby.
Yes,
because everybody's asking. Everybody,
give the people the update they deserve. They need to hear it.
So for those of you that don't know, and I think everybody knows. Sorry. I for those of you that don't know, my son went into the hospital and spent one night last Thursday to have a G-tube, a stomach feeding tube, surgically placed into his stomach. He also got his circumcision at the same time. So double whammy for a little guy.
Poor dude.
I know. And the thing about it is the most difficult thing for him in terms of recovery has been the circumcision, not this. You know what I mean? Like, and I would think, like, you know, they're cutting a hole essentially in your stomach. I would think that would be worse.
When you said update on your, I didn't expect to go here, but let's talk about it.
No, you know, first couple days over the weekend were rough for a little guy, you know, in a lot of pain and everything like that. But you know, he's gotten better every day. You know, he had a pretty good day yesterday, had a pretty good day today so far. Mom is a rock star. So shout out to Mama.
I did want to say the picture you shared of him coming home from the hospital, he looked like $1 million. That was the cutest little baby I've ever seen. You would never guess he's got anything going on. Looked super healthy, smiley, happy little guy. I'm glad you shared that picture, because that made me feel really good about how he's doing.
Yeah, no, nothing on his face, no tube in his nose, and I'm overjoyed about that. So baby is doing well, recovering well.
Good.
Thank you all for all of your well wishes, your messages, your prayers. Greatly appreciated. Circling back, I guess, to, you know, there were some things that happened last week that you know, I think that it's pretty necessary for us to address. You know, normally, I will start off by saying this. Normally, when there is drama,
Drama Central.
yeah. normally when there's drama, it might not seem like it, but the vast majority of the time, it stays behind the scenes. This was not ever something I was planning on talking about. I don't think Glenn was planning on talking about it whatsoever. But, you know, it was kind of our hand was forced in a way because of some things that were shared. So, you know, people are essentially a little bit upset about some things we've been saying in the Facebook group, on the pod and things like that. And then through their actions, they're getting us to talk about it more. So here we are. Where do we start here? Where do we start? Where do you want to begin?
You know, it's also kind of a multifaceted, because I also made this post last week, you guys talking about Medicarians, which just to address that really fast. First and foremost, if you go back and read the post, which is still up in the group, I literally fed this thing through ChatGPT and I said, make me sound like Trump. And then I'm telling you right now, I could show you the screenshot. I said, make me sound like Trump. I thought this would be obvious and funny to everyone. Not a single person. No, not a single. Even Christian was like, oh, I didn't realize. I'm like, okay, I guess that was a miss. I was trying to be funny, but clearly I'm not funny at all. But I literally sent this post through ChatGPT, and then I said, it's not Trump enough. Make it sound even more like Trump. It fed it back to me a second time. I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. And then I posted it, and not a single person caught that. So I'm like, okay, that clearly wasn't the funny thing that I thought it would be. And ultimately, guys, the point of that post, which it got taken in so many different directions.
Yes.
All I was trying to do was make it clear for those who are not in the know, for those who are new agents, right? Obviously, we have new agents getting licensed every year. Just wanted it to be known that the company that owns and operates Medicarians has no connections to the Medicare industry at all. And if that's different, if things have changed since I've gotten this information, by all means, I'm open to that. Feel free to comment below, let me know. But as of now, the best information that I have is that the decision maker for the event has zero experience in Medicare, has never been in the industry before. And so it just changes, in my opinion, it changes the view on the event. As a consumer of events, as somebody who goes to events, I like to know who owns and operates the event. That's how it's always been for me. For the past dozen years of going to events, I want to know who owns and operates, who's the decision maker behind this event. That's a meaningful fact to me. For some of you, based on the comments, I guess you guys didn't care, or it doesn't change your opinion on the event. Each their own.
Right, which is fine. Which is fine, right? Like your post, it was definitely, I believe, in the way that it was framed in the Trump-like messaging that upset people so much. I mean, let's face it, right? Trump is extremely polarizing and upsets a lot of people. People didn't catch on to the joke. But the question in and of itself was just like, do you know who runs this event? And that was kind of the end of it.
That was really it. Yeah.
And, you know, some people found that extremely relevant, helpful information. And they were like, wow, I actually appreciate knowing that. And then others were just totally outraged about it. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, it was a pretty minuscule question. I don't even think you could call it bashing. My live stream that I did after the fact was way more vicious and aggressive than that post was. And I got way less backlash than you did.
I also, honestly, guys, I also think it's really telling too that there were people commenting on my post trying to allude that other people were owning and operating the event that do not own and operate the event. So to me,
like speakers or sponsors.
Yeah, speakers or sponsors. They're like, oh, so-and-so runs this event. And to me, that just speaks even more to the message I was trying to get out, that you don't understand who owns and operates this event, because I'm getting people in the comments telling me it's this company or this person that owns and operates this event. So it's clearly not known. And a couple of you too commented like, it's public. If everybody knows this. I'm like, everybody knows this? I'm like, look at the comments. I'm like, no.
Comments. Clearly not.
Clearly not. Clearly not.
On my live stream, I went as far as to saying I wouldn't go because I don't think they're putting the best people on the stage. Like, I got way more in the weeds on it than you did. I got some backlash for sure, but you got 10x the backlash than I did.
I don't know.
And I feel like what you said was pretty tame. It was basically just like, do you know who runs this event? They're not in the industry. Like, were you aware of that? Fuck you, Glenn. Like, that's basically how it went down.
You're hating on their event to sell your event. I'm like, that wasn't the goal of this post at all. Read it again.
We don't need to do that. We sell out every year.
Yeah.
We don't need to do that. We sell out our event every single year. It's never not sold out. So anyway.
Who runs it? I'll mention this again. It's Connective Holdings LLC. That is the name of the company that owns and operates Medicarians. They are an event company. They run a bunch of different events. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but what used to be the Medicare Supplement Conference, which was run by people in the industry, high quality event.
Shout out.
Yeah, it was a great event. I never went to it. Personally, I was very close a couple of times. Everyone who went usually had good things to say. That Medicare Supplement Conference got sold to Connective Holdings LLC. They rebranded it as Medicarians. It's now in Las Vegas every year. That is the story behind Medicarians, you guys. That's how it's owned and operated, right? So again, just little public information PSA for you guys. Now this there's a thread here that kind of ties into the second part of the week last week of Drama Week, where again, the goal that Christian and I have is like, we want you guys to be informed. We want you guys to have the best support possible, whether you're an ESI agent, whether you're working with Hire Heroes, Lead Heroes, you're part of our 7-figure CRM, you're part of the 7-figure university, you're just a member in the community. Maybe you're not even interacting with any of our companies. Maybe you're just in the 7-figure Medicare agent Facebook group. Maybe you just watch our content, right? The goal of this is to support you guys and to make sure that you're in the know as much as possible. So unfortunately, there are some bad actors in the space. There are people that even I personally thought were good friends of mine that are essentially bad actors, right? They posted screenshots of messages that were essentially out of context. Like, obviously, I think it's really easy to screenshot. I mean, I could go through messages with Christian and take a few screenshots and make it look really bad.
Make me look really bad. I mean, I say wild shit all the time. You heard it here first. You know what I mean? Right. Especially like privately. I think we all do if we're honest with each other.
Sure.
I wanted to really kind of share my thoughts on this real quickly.
Please do.
So like, so to your point, right? Somebody gets upset about the Medicarians post. Earlier that week, last Monday, a week ago today, we actually did a pod about how go high level CRMs don't release their users free, and we did the whole hashtag free the user thing. That, in my opinion, compared with the Medicarians thing so close together, upset a lot of people, and they're like, oh, you're hating. I guess if it's in the same way that like you're hating on an FMO for not releasing a contract, I really don't feel like there was any like personal attacks made or anything like that. I think it was mainly just like, did you know that this is a thing? Because people are actively told that they can't move their sub account. I think that's relevant information. And so anyway, somebody got really upset. Somebody that had been pretty tied in with Glenn and I. I had them very involved at the first 7-figure Medicare summit, or then the second one, actually, the third, three. I don't even remember. The first 3 events, right? And I did it not because we needed their help. I mean, the event is bigger than ever, and I've been running it myself with Glenn, right? Like, we don't need this person. But in the early years, we welcomed the collaboration. We're learning how to do events. And also, this person was someone we considered a friend and wanted to give the opportunity of getting additional exposure, right? And, this is a person that's benefited greatly from myself, not just myself, but others, a couple other people in the industry, putting them on a pedestal for to be seen.
Yeah.
And now they're pretty known by agents. And I guess, from my perception of the whole thing is that entire thing was a calculated facade to get close to me, to get access to you, my audience.
I mean, I can't speak to the intentions behind this person, right? Like, and some of you might be listening to this or watching this right now and be like, Glenn, Christian, name names, name the company, name the person. What we've realized after being in this space and creating content and having a community and an audience as long as we have is, if we start to really talk about things in a very open way and we're naming names and we're trying to like shame people, we are just pouring raw oxygen onto a fire. And if you know anything about how fire works, that is essentially just gasoline, right? So we don't want to do that. We don't want to. It's almost like, this is probably a horrible analogy, but it's almost like when like a mass shooting happens. Like, you don't want to talk about the shooter's name, right? Like, I'm just saying, like,
sure. Yeah.
The news a lot of times will go out of the way to not say that, because that's what the person wants. The person wants the infamy, right? They want their name talked about, and that's not what we're here to do. We're not here to try to, add fuel to the fire of this drama when it really doesn't help, right? It doesn't help. Now, I will say, I do want to say, behind the screenshots that you may have seen or maybe you didn't see, the message was that I was upset because another CRM owner was not giving support to their users, which was what they were essentially promising. They're promising support to the users. They're not providing support to the users. So the comments that you saw from me, those private screenshots, those private messages, you were seeing me being upset that I am having agents come to me all the time saying, hey, Glenn, I'm having this issue with so-and-so. I'm having this issue with this CRM. And so, yes, that does upset me, because you know what? Christian and I spend millions of dollars supporting you guys every single year. And we don't even think twice about it because it's so important to us. And it's not just Everything Senior Insurance Agents. We're supporting you guys through the CRM, through the university, through Lead Heroes, through Hire Heroes. We don't even think twice about it. We want to make sure you guys have the best support possible. So when I see people in our space who are not supporting you guys, and on top of it, they're making false promises, it does really upset me. It does really upset me. And I feel totally justified to be upset.
Sure. And I feel like both of us have experience with this system and this person. And both of us, in my opinion, come from a place of experience with it, right? Like, we didn't want to create 7-figure CRM. We were actually wanting to keep working with this person.
Sure.
We only made it because we were frustrated at things that weren't happening, like lack of support and other things, right? Now, in regards to the screenshots, I want to mention, like, my perception of this. And the other thing is, the screenshots are from months and months and months ago.
Yeah. Yes,
so this person literally was just sitting on this as ammunition, waiting for an opportunity to put it out there to the public, which, that's a very dirty move. And I don't feel like that speaks well of somebody's character, regardless if you agree with what the message is said or not. You were you were communicating with somebody about a frustration you had about something that's going on to someone that you thought was a friend.
Totally.
And that person, as far as I'm concerned, stabbed you in the back. Now, I also made a comment. I found it very interesting, right? This person's had a problem for a while, it seems like. Didn't say anything about it. These screenshots were from months and months ago. They picked the day my son was in the hospital to release them. Now they deny that was any kind of malice.
Right.
Fair enough. But I did find it relatively convenient. I don't really believe in convenience all that much. I made some comments about it. Yeah, I made some comments about it. I said what I said. I stand by what I said. And yeah, I mean, I just thought it was a real bitch move to put that information out like that.
I want to kind of wrap up my thoughts on this entire situation by telling you guys, and this is something I've talked about on the podcast before, you've heard, and Christian, I've had kind of a lot of introspection over the past weeks and private conversations where we're like, are we in the wrong here? Like, are we the bad guys? Like, are we causing too much drama? Like, what's going on here? And like, to really bring this moment full circle for Christian, for myself, and for anybody in the audience that's watching or listening to this, if you've ever heard that the 5 closest people, you're the average of the 5 closest people to you, I personally 100% believe that to be true. It's not just like a saying. That's not like an old wives' tale or just a thing people say. I really think that you can take the 5 people closest to you, add them up, divide by 5, and that's really who you are. That's going to be what your net worth is. That's going to be what your health is. That's going to be how you're acting and behaving in public. I think what's happened essentially to Christian and myself is like we've grown tremendously, leaps and bounds over the past 3, 4, 5 years. We went from really babies in a lot of ways to, making a lot more money, generating a lot more revenue, recruiting a lot of agents, becoming a much bigger organization. And in my opinion, what we've seen happen is we've had to really change the 5 people closest to us to keep up with our average, because we're on this type of trajectory. We're going to continue to grow really in a hockey stick manner. And for those who really weren't able to come on the ride with us, unfortunately, we had to let them go. And we had to find a group of 5 people that are essentially going to be with us and continue to bring our average up. That's really what I think has happened with a lot of these relationships that unfortunately we've had to cut loose.
Yeah, I think well said. And the final thing I'll say about it, and then we can move on. To the main topic at hand, because we got a lot to talk about in terms of CMS proposals and domino effects there. But the final thing that I will say about it is, I think when there's screenshots shared and out of context, everybody kind of grasps onto it. Not anybody that I care about, but several people, post about it, and they're like, everyone has an opinion when they don't know the whole background and the whole story. And people are like, oh, you should apologize. What I've learned over the years is anytime I've ever said something that I meant, and then there's backlash, and I am pressured into apologizing, the apology is never accepted anyway by the people that are outraged. So what's the point if the apology is not accepted? You know what I mean? I've always said, like, anybody that ever has a problem with anything that we do, say anything like that, I'm not hard to find. I'm always willing to have a conversation and talk through things. A lot of the people that are the most outraged are the ones that aren't. And I think that speaks way more to them than it does of us, happy to get on the phone and talk something out. Always.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I feel like, part of how I operate is like, I'm not going to say anything behind your back that I wouldn't say to your face. Right.
That's very true.
Like, that's honestly, so if you hear that I said something about you or your company behind your back, it's nothing I wouldn't say to your face. And I may have even already said it to your face before, which that was honestly the reality of this situation. This was old news.
Yes.
From the beginning. Yes. This is something I've said publicly. This is something I've said to this person directly before. This was not some sort of like conniving, I'm saying horrible things or false rumors behind the scene. Like, this was just this is an opinion I've already shared before.
Wait till they see this DM.
I'm like this. Okay, this is stuff I've already said. Like, if you want to try to frame this in a negative, okay. But yeah, that's I think that was a pretty good recap of
yes, I agree.
Drama Week last week. I think we stuck the landing on it.
And that'll be the final comment that either of us ever have on this.
Yes.
So moving on. Glenn, who's the sponsor of 193?
Guys, episode 193 of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by 7-Figure CRM. Christian and I have been developing now for years our own CRM system. Again, like Christian said a moment ago, I mean, we've really had experience working with so many different CRMs. I mean, I was thinking about it over the past week, from starting as an agent, working with only paper to spreadsheets to Radius Bob, Zoho, Go High Level, Salesforce. At Lead Heroes, we integrate with hundreds of CRMs to deliver our leads. So I have personally seen and worked with agents in all lights when it comes to CRM systems. And 7-Figure CRM is something that is kind of a passion project for Christian and myself. We've really spent a lot of time, energy, and money building what we believe is one of the best CRM systems for insurance agents. So there will be a link below this video in the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group for our upcoming webinar, which is Introduction to 7-Figure CRM. We want you guys to understand all the technology that is available to you through the 7-Figure CRM system, including some custom changes that we've made where we've hired developers to come in and really create some exciting changes. So if you're looking for a new CRM, if you don't have a CRM system right now, or if you just want to learn more about what the 7-Figure CRM has to offer, sign up for the webinar. It's 100% free, no obligation. It's going to be a really great webinar. It's going to happen February 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific. So a little over a week from right now, we'll be jumping on live. We'll have our team with us. It's going to be awesome. So again, Introduction to the 7-Figure CRM system, free webinar. Register below, click the link, and we'll see you guys on February 11th.
Kaboom. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so you did an awesome solo pod without me as I was at the hospital last Friday on the CMS proposal. The last thing I want to do on the remainder of this pod today is kind of rehash anything that you already went through. Maybe we go through a 10,000-foot view of what is in this proposal in a very Cliff Notes version, and then maybe we talk about kind of the potential domino effects, because I do have a lot of thoughts on this.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, and I kind of mentioned that on Fridays. I'm sure this is something, because this is a really big deal. It's a really big deal if it passes, which is the big if, right? Obviously, from now until final rule drops, which is typically 2 months from right now, it's usually the first week of April, around April 4th, 5th, 6th is kind of historically when we've been seeing final rule come out. So if this passes, you're going to most likely have repercussions that come from it. To recap really quick, for those of you who did not see my solo episode on Friday, CMS dropped a proposal about a week ago now, where instead of having an increase in payment to the health insurance providers for Medicare Advantage and Part D plans, which historically they try to at least keep up with inflation. So as an example, this increase in payment from coverage year 2026 was 5.06%. So they increased the amount that they were paying per policy or per member to the health insurance carriers from the United States government, right? Through the Medicare program. It was an increase of 5.06%, which is great. Again, baseline inflation's 2.73%. So they're trying to at least keep up with inflation. Medical inflation, someone commented on last week's episode and said medical inflation's closer to 10% year over year. That wouldn't surprise me at all with what we've seen, the increase in premiums, the increase in all healthcare related costs over the past few years, especially, since like 2020. So what the proposal mentioned last week was that for covered year 2027, they were going to do a 0.09% increase, which is essentially zero. They're essentially going to keep it flat. They were touting the number 700 million, which, yeah, that sounds like a lot, but a 5.06% increase the previous year was like 25 billion. So 700 million is nothing. It's essentially zero. So that's what's at stake here. And we already saw the stocks plummet for the health insurance carriers from it. So that was the market's reaction. Christian, your thoughts on this entire situation, because this has been a hot topic now for the past week.
This episode of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by my mini course, How to Find and Buy Books of Businesses. Guys, in 2024, Glenn and I, in our combined company, purchased and acquired through acquisition 900 clients. And over the years, we've purchased thousands of clients to grow our agency internally. And we've learned a thing or two over the years, right? There's certain things you need to look out for. You need to know how to value a book of business. You need to know how to transfer everything, what the expectations are in terms of the timeline. And you need to know how to put a deal together and structure it to protect yourself while still at the same time doing good business with people. Guys, this mini course is around 10 videos long. It's a quick and easy thing to get through. And it's a great way for you to grow your book of business in 2025. Whether you're finding an agent that is maybe been in the business for decades and they want to retire, and then maybe they don't have any kids to take over their business. Maybe you're looking at a situation with an agent that just hasn't been able to make it in the business and they're just looking to go off and try other things. Buying books of businesses can be a great way to quickly and rapidly grow your business fast. And we've unveiled all of the little tools and tricks that you need to know in this training. It's a one-time purchase for only $197. For that price, we're practically giving it away. Make sure to check it out now. Now back to the show. Yeah, I mean, my first reaction to it when the news came out was, this is going to hurt people's plans. This is going to cause more of what we've seen the past couple of years. You know, it might even extend it a little bit. And that comes from, that comes in the form of SARS, service area reductions. The last 2 AEPs, we've had record number of plans terminated. So that's number one. Number two, we've seen benefits cut and slashed on a lot of plans. Not nearly as rich of ancillary benefits, OTC benefits, max out of pockets higher, copays higher, things like that on a lot of plans. Not all, but a lot across the country. The infamous non-commissionable plans.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing that we've done 50 episodes about, I feel like. So we don't need to get too much more into that. But, just disruption that ends up being felt at the end of the day by the consumer more than anybody else. And so, that is my prediction on this, because, like, to your point, if you have an increase of the cost of medical services of 10% a year,
yes,
right? And your funding to combat that increase is less than 1%, that money's got to come from somewhere. You know what I mean? Now, granted, as we both said multiple times, this is just a proposal right now. I saw the CEO of United Health Group come out and basically be like, this is crazy. Like, this is going to result in negative repercussions and domino effects to the member. And we're going to work with CMS to try to find a more amicable solution here. We'll see how that plays out. But, now this is not the first time there's been smaller increases, right? Sometimes if there's like a bigger increase one year, the next following year, they might do a smaller increase because they're trying to level it out a little bit. Right.
Right.
So I don't think it's the end of the world, as some people make it out to be.
Right.
But do I think it bodes well for our clients and for us as agents and the carriers or anybody involved? I don't. My personal opinion is I think the government is hyper politicized right now, and they're trying to do to say the least.
To say the least.
And I think a big target that they've had is the insurance companies. They want to make the insurance companies the bad guys. And if they can successfully do that, and then they can be like, look what we've done. We've cut their funding. These big, bad, evil insurance companies that they think they can win favor with the public, that they've tried to convince that the insurance companies are bad. Probably the majority of people probably do think the insurance companies are bad. I don't know. I haven't seen any polling on that. But
it's a PR nightmare for sure. We've talked about that before, right?
Yeah. So that's my outlook on it. One thing I wanted to talk about related to this, that not a lot of people are talking about right now, is marketing money. Marketing money's been kind of a hot topic lately. I feel like, and maybe it's just my perception, I don't see everything everybody posts by any means, but I feel like there's been a lot of posts lately about marketing money. And, like it's posts that are like, 2 years ago, FMOs were doing this for marketing money. Did you know that? And admittedly, marketing money is not the same now, but look what happened 2 years ago. And I'm like, what? Like, why didn't you say this 2 years ago? But so like a lot of carriers have stepped backwards out of the marketing money, at least on the national side of things. And one of the biggest carriers completely stopped doing marketing money until further notice, essentially, is the messaging starting in 2026, right? January 1st, 2026. I've heard whispers of another national company. Essentially, it's in the pipeline that they're going to come out and be like, no more marketing money. Which, that would only leave a couple of national carriers left that did national marketing money. And for the most part, it's certain type of plans only. It's certain markets only. Like, the carriers are very focused right now on quality of business and not quantity. We've talked about this on the show. And so the idea of them mass incentivizing business like they used to kind of goes directly against that philosophy. And so I'm of the opinion that if there is any companies that are doing marketing money left in the next year, there won't be many. Maybe it's one. And it'll be in certain locations. And carriers might, in a one-off situation, look at a specific area that they want to grow in, and they might do it in that specific state for a specific period of time. Like that, I'm not saying that is completely gone or anything like that, but national marketing money that flows through your FMO, that is dying quickly. It's been dying for a couple years. It's been dying a death of 1,000 cuts. And it's not at all what it was even 3 years ago. So your thoughts on that?
I almost think that in some ways it's had a slower death than I thought it would. When the ship started to turn, and again, back in the day, being an old timer in this space, in some ways, there was a point in time, you guys, where depending on your upline, you could essentially send them a message and say, I'm planning on X number of apps over the next 12 months or whatever, or this AEP. And your upline would be like, okay, little Billy, here's $300 for every app you think you're going to write. The direct deposit will hit your account tomorrow. Those days are long gone.
Over.
Way long gone. And there's so many reasons why those days are long gone. I will say, I think it's most like, as much as I love marketing, obviously I started a marketing company and still, own and operate a marketing company. As much as I love the idea of those marketing dollars getting poured in, I think overall this is probably a benefit for the industry because, again, for a number of reasons. One is this money was being misspent left and right. it was rarely being used correctly and how it was supposed to be used. 2 is, does this really benefit the Medicare beneficiary at the end of the day? Because again, what we saw happen in a lot of these, you're seeing a lot of false churn. You're seeing a lot of books get flipped. You're seeing incentivization for short-term business, and that just wreaks havoc on the Medicare beneficiary. So I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing for the industry. I think if anything, it might make it a little tougher for little Billy. The barrier to entry is going to probably be a little bit higher. If you have no money coming in to spend on marketing and your upline can't help kind of pre-fund your marketing, you are now going to have to figure this out. You're going to have to get a loan, put marketing on credit cards, grassroots marketing, organic marketing, you're working referrals, you're networking. That's kind of the give and take here. Thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think, how often did you hear a story of somebody getting a big amount of marketing money for like a big group of their agents and they go like buy a boat?
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
didn't distribute to their agents at all, right?
Right, which is really just gross. Like, we passed down for years now all of the marketing money that we got down to our agents. We were so generous about it, and so for us, like internally, like it's something that we were using to help our agents. And I do feel like there were FMOs out there that were heavily abusing marketing money and using that as their main value proposition, right?
What about this story too that we heard over and over? Little Billy says he's going to write 5,000 apps, and then he writes 5 apps and disappears.
We had okay, so this story. You know the story I'm about to tell.
Yes, I do. I know.
Won't name any names. In the first couple years that we did marketing money, and we were getting it from our FMO at the time. This was kind of in the wild west days, where like any app with any carrier counted to satisfy production and things like that, right? We had an agent that was leaving a call center, coming over to us, I don't believe had written even one app independently yet. And it just got like a big inheritance. I want to say it was like 50 grand of an inheritance from a family member that just passed away. So just had this money and wanted to get it matched. Because back then it was a 50-50 co-op, at least with that FMO.
Okay.
So he wanted to put up 50 and they spend 50. And I'm like, you're going to spend 100 grand on marketing for just you? I'm like, what are we talking about here?
Before you've written a single app on your own.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can't bring that to them. Like, I can't do that. They will kick my ass. They will terminate me on the spot, as they should. And I was able to talk him down to like 10. And I was like, there's no way this will even get approved. But I'm like, I'll just submit it to say that I did, so I don't look like the asshole. And it got approved. And then throughout AEP, I think he wrote like 3 apps.
Yep.
And the FMO was mad at me, not the agent, me,
Right.
as they should be, because I'm the one requesting it, like I'm putting my foot forward for this agent. And that was a common thing that was happening.
That stuff happened all the time. Yeah.
Really,
and
really
just
bad.
Bad for the industry. Bad for everybody. Bad for the beneficiary. Bad for the industry.
If there's 10 grand that was spent on that agent, let's say there was 3 apps, it's an average of 3,300 per app.
There's no recouping. What
are we talking about here?
That's a write-off. That's a tax write-off for everybody involved in that transaction. There is a question here, and guys, Freebie Friday happens every single Friday right here in the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group. In order to enter, all you have to do is comment on our live streams for the podcast. We do typically at least 2 per week right now. Comment below, and it automatically enters you into Freebie Friday, whether you're watching this live or the replay. If you have a question, a comment, concern, you just want to give us a shout out, drop it below here in the Seven Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group on the podcast stream. Question from Michelle. She says, didn't one of your guests say AEP 2026 would be a tsunami?
Maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I'm like, who did we bring on that said a tsunami's coming?
My prediction all along was this was going to be a crazy AEP just like the last two. I thought we needed about 3 years of correction with the Inflation Reduction Act, but this just stretches it out longer, in my opinion, because it's squeezing the carriers. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's a good thing if it passes. Now, I've seen people be like, opportunity, time to bundle and cross up. Okay, I get it. I understand. There's less dental benefits, and I don't disagree with the message, actually. That's probably true. But does that mean that it changes the message that it's bad for the consumer? I don't think that it does.
The guy from Illinois. There's a follow-up.
Dave, he probably did say
that. Dave. Okay, yeah. That's actually a great callback.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a comment in the chat actually I wanted to talk about. So I'm glad that it was mentioned. I don't know if you saw this, but the statement from the CEO of Scan Healthcare.
I did not see this, but I do see the comment.
So more or less, they came out and basically said, we are making a commitment to benefits for our beneficiaries, making a commitment to commissions for agents, but we got to make cuts somewhere. And so we're going to be making cuts on, incentive trips for agents, sponsorships, at agent events and things like that. Absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. I actually really enjoyed seeing that message because I found it relatively refreshing, because there's a lot of carriers that might cut commissions or cut benefits, and then they're spending huge amounts at a certain event in Vegas.
Make that make sense. Right? Make that.
Sorry. Last one. But no, I
decided to sneak one in there.
Come on, a little tongue in cheek. Come on.
It's true though. Like, as a business owner, when you are faced with that situation where you have to make cuts, where do you make those cuts? And I think that's probably the best way to do it, right? Like, if as an agent, would you rather them take money out of our pockets on the commission side? Would you rather them cut benefits so the plans are horrible for the beneficiary? Like, no, but I think taking it out of events and sponsorships and stuff like that, I think that makes all the sense in the world.
Totally agree. Yeah. And then circling back to the marketing money conversation, what this does, in my opinion, is it strips away FMOs that don't provide value outside of marketing dollars.
Yes.
I've always looked at it like, it's like we've talked about it a lot in the show, selling a MedSup app or a final expense app all based on premium or price.
Yes.
There's always going to be a lower rate. There's always going to be somebody with a lower premium. But I think it rewards the FMOs that are providing genuine value, in the 3 pillars, that I've talked about lately. 3 pillars to me are access to leads, training and mentorship, and technology.
Yep.
That's
the Holy Trinity.
Which shameless plug, I think nobody's doing better right now than ESI, in those 3 pillars for sure. And so, like, it's one of those things where, as an FMO, you're going to have to level up. You're going to have to raise the bar a little bit, in terms of the value that you're providing to your agents, because if you can't just, do a bidding war with marketing money or something like that, then it's like, oh, you're a big contracting house. Oh, you don't have access to leads. Oh, you don't do any technology outside of Sunfire or Connecture. Oh, you don't train me at all. You'll do compliance training with me, and that's it.
Yep.
So
we're getting towards top of the hour, and I feel like a good way to shift here is get into maybe some of the actionable side of this. I like to try to leave you guys with actionable advice on what you can do to prepare. I talked about this a little bit on Friday. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what April is going to bring, right? I don't know if this is going to change. Obviously, the insurance carriers have a ton of power. Obviously, there's lobbying that goes on behind the scenes every single day. So there's obviously a chance that what's being proposed could completely change by the time April rolls around. It's also possible that it passes as is. Mm-hmm. So I think, if we're going to make an assumption here for the sake of today's show, that it passes as it sits right now, that the carriers are not going to see this increase that maybe they were banking on going into 2027, coverage year 2027, which is AEP 8 months from now. What would your advice be to an independent agent or a small agency that, is trying to plan ahead?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the most important question here, right? Is
right. What do we do?
What do we do? I think, for one, I'd stay calm.
Keep calm. Carry on.
I think, first off, you can't control this. You know what I mean? So, the way I see it is you have 3 options. The first one is you can, keep doing what you're doing until something official happens. While making some adjustments as you go. I'm a fan of cross-selling. I'm a fan of bundling. I think you should be doing it. I agree. The second thing is you can get out of space entirely and go find something else because you think it's a house of cards collapsing. And the third thing you can do
easy dark Christian. He's just bubbling at the surface, right? just ready to laser beam right
now. I think getting licensed in a few surrounding markets probably isn't a bad idea to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And just being prepared for that. I think the best way you can kind of really prepare for this and be ready is, I think, 1, cross-selling, bundling, ancillary products, absolutely. Final expense, absolutely. A lot of you want to do annuities, sure, absolutely. We don't do annuities, but we do all the other things that we mentioned. Again, you can't do everything. So you got to pick the things that you want to integrate into what you do.
Right.
And then I think being willing and set up and prepared to maybe jump into a surrounding market doesn't mean you have to be in all 50 states, but maybe you're concentrating on 3 or 4, That's probably not a bad idea. And if you're in a really big state like a CA or a Florida or a Texas, you're probably in a really great position because you can, if Houston gets hit really hard, for example, you can probably focus on Dallas or vice versa, or Austin or something like that. You have states that are so big that one part of the state might be hit more than another. And so but I think in addition to all of that, I would stay calm. I do not look at this as a death blow. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention, the last couple of years, okay, so 2023, there was an 8.5% increase for Medicare Advantage.
Oh, damn. That was massive.
2024, 3.3.
Okay.
2025, 3.7. 2026, as you mentioned earlier, 5.06. 2027, 0.09, which I just have such a hard time believing that will actually happen. I feel like it's got to be in the middle somewhere. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Not to be like a bearer of bad news, but if you put a gun to my head right now and you said, Glenn, you have to tell me what's going to happen right now, I feel like it's going to pass at 0.09.
Yeah.
It feels like this is coming from the top down, again, that they want to try to curb some of the spending, which I'm all for. By the way, I'm all for fiscal responsibility. I'm not against that. But at the same time, there has to be enough money to take care of the needs too. So that's the give and take here. That's the tug of war. I kind of feel like it's the writing's on the wall that's going to happen. Obviously, I'd love for it to not be, right? I'd love for this to rebound into something more reasonable, like 3%, 4%.
And another thing I wanted to mention too, and then I want to hear your final thoughts, but could this be Medicare Advantage plans? Because when you and I came into the space, it was actually pretty foreign for Medicare Advantage plans to carry all the goodies that they do today. Sure. Several people have brought this up. I think it's a good point. Like in my area, for example, there was like one plan that did any dental when I started, and it had a premium and it did preventative dental only. That was like commonly acknowledged, so maybe we get to a point where that's relevant again, and maybe old Medi Sup makes a comeback.
Old girl Medi Sup.
Old girl. Get out here, old girl. Come here. Let's dance one more time.
Your dancing days aren't done yet, Medi. Come on out of the barn.
The funeral didn't need to happen. We'll unbox you. We'll pry the box open. Okay.
Back to life.
Okay. One last thing. 2022, 4.08% increase. 2021, 1.6.
Okay. I think the historical context is very interesting here.
2020, 2.5. 2019, 3.4. 2018, 2.9. Never seen anything this low. That's why I'm like, surely they got to at least bring it up to like 2 or something.
There's part of me that says there's so much power at the carrier level, and there's so much power with the lobbying. I mean, healthcare lobbying is probably one of the biggest of almost any lobbyist groups that exist. So there is a lot of power in the private sector to get this changed. So there is some optimism I share around that. But I also feel like what this administration wants is to curb the cost. Like, I feel like they want to send a message to the carriers and be like, hey, we think the spending's been a little out of hand, so we're going to have to cut back. I don't know. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. We'll see what happens in April. I think you do have to, my mentality as a business owner, you guys, and I'll show these as my final thoughts. I think the best path forward is to plan for the worst. So if we're planning for the worst here, the assumption would be that this passes at 0.09%. The assumption is that this is going to create a lot of chaos going into AP 2027 this year. So, how can you diversify your risk now? I love the idea of getting licensed in at least probably 3 to 5 states, bare minimum. That would be my recommendation. You don't need all 50. But that helps insulate you from a market collapse in certain states, like what we saw last year. There was only it was a handful. It was like 3, 4, 5 states that got hit really hard. Most other states, it was much smaller impact. We'll probably see more of that no matter what, where you're going to see certain regions potentially hit a lot harder. I love the idea of diversifying into other products. If you've never sold a Medicare supplement plan before, good Lord, now is the time to get old girl out of the barn and dust her off
out of the barn
and get her racing ready once again, because she's not done. She's not done. I love final expense. I love other hospital indemnity plans, dental, vision, hearing, cancer, short-term care, home health care. The senior market, I will tell you one thing, like the senior market as a whole, I couldn't be more bullish on. This generation with science and technology and healthcare, they're most likely going to, live longer than ever. So you have a market segment that is getting bigger and bigger as more baby boomers continue to age. You have technology and healthcare keeping these people alive longer than ever. Like, the seniors need help. No matter what happens in the Medicare space and the insurance world, So building a relationship with these seniors and having a business with these seniors, I really don't think we can ever lose. And I love what I'm seeing in the comments, you guys. We keep going, right? We do keep going. It doesn't matter what this CMS number is. It could be 0, it could be 10%, whatever. We keep going. This is not the meteor coming. Sorry, Chicken Littles. We are going to survive this one way or another. So those are my final thoughts on today's episode.
Everybody, I hope you enjoyed today's show. It's great to be back with you. And we are planning on another show, as always, Friday, same time. So if you enjoyed today's episode, do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe, and give a 5-star review, depending on the platform that you might be consuming today's content on. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Here's to your massive success. Thanks, everybody.